And I'm Jake Hoffman.
And this is Moderately Outraged. As President Donald Trump, lest the liberal media forget, it is still President Donald Trump, because once you are a U.S. president, you are always referred to as president. So as President Trump is still fighting to prove the voter fraud that occurred during the 2020 election, a new player has emerged onto the scene. Sidney Powell, a member of President Trump's legal counsel.
Yeah, and Sidney Powell has kind of like become the messiah for Trump fans the last couple of weeks, right? Because, you know, we have Giuliani, and I don't know if Giuliani might just be here at this point as kind of like this puppet person who's like, we're like, look over here, look at Giuliani. Like, he's doing stuff. He's like sweating, he's touching himself in the Borat movies. But like in the over here, we've got Sidney Powell, like a real legal team that's working towards actually exposing maybe one of the biggest stories of the entire century. And over the last couple of days and the last couple of weeks, there's been really massive claims by Sidney Powell and by the Trump team. So big, again, this would be probably the biggest story of the century. And the media is treating it, number one, like it's all a joke. And number two, we have to now look at it objectively as semi-journalists and say, look, we're behind you. We support you, and we want you.
Journalist.
We're behind you. We support what you're doing. We're giving you the time. But Sidney Powell just came out and said that she's gonna expose it in the next 2 weeks. We have to give you a 2-week time frame, Sidney Powell, and start here, because as Republicans, as Trump supporters, we need more evidence. We need more evidence. We need to be able to start winning court cases. We need to be able to expose massive fraud. These little cases here and there in different, counties around the country, they're important, they exist, but they're not enough to overturn the election. They're not only not enough to overturn the election results, but they're not enough to overturn the public perception of the election. What you need to
Which may be more important than overturning the election
Yeah.
results in and of itself, is that the public needs to believe that this voter fraud actually happened. If not, then we're just kooky right-wing conspiracy theorists like they already want to, say that we are.
Yeah, and for that kind of thing to prove true, and for all of us to be right about this, we need to release the Kraken, right? We need to actually give the evidence that says there was such widespread voter fraud on this Dominion software, because we really need to stop focusing on all these small lawsuits all around the country. You need to focus on this Dominion software. If Sidney Powell and Trump can actually prove that the Dominion software was implemented by, Hugo Chavez, communist China, all of these other countries as a ploy to take down the U.S. elections, again, should be story of the century. You need to be able to back that up with a lot of fact and way more evidence than we have right now. Right, as of right now, we are just going on the word of Sidney Powell, and I know a lot of people want to do that, but at this point, if we just keep listening to her and believing her, it becomes a religion more than a facts-based organization like we are in the GOP.
And what we can't be is the left, during the Russian collusion conspiracy. We can't be the left spending every day, every week, every minute hoping that, the Mueller case, it's going to come out any minute. It's going to come out and it's going to expose everything about Trump and his Russian collusion. He's going to be taken out of the Oval Office in handcuffs, and Rachel Maddow every single day going on her what-if scenarios and,
Speculation.
Getting all jazzed up about that, for at the end of the day, what to happen? Nothing. For Mueller to testify in court and say there was no collusion, and the left couldn't move on from that. They just couldn't. And we can't be the left. We have to have evidence, and B, if there's not evidence, we have to be prepared to move forward.
Yeah, so we're not going to go on this show and attack Sidney Powell. I'll make fun of Rudy Giuliani just a little bit, man. You have to be able to make sure that the sweat isn't going to take out your hairspray. You got to make sure that you're not going to do that in the midst of one of the biggest press conferences you ever give. Be careful there. But I will say that, again, we're trying to give Sidney Powell the benefit of the doubt. We're trying to give the Trump team the benefit of the doubt. But we're also going to hold you guys accountable, too, the same way that we're going to try and demand facts and evidence from the left when they come out with their crazy conspiracies about Russia and all of those other things that you've seen over the last 4 years. So it's really important that as Republicans we don't get too lost in supporting Trump, that we stop asking for evidence and stop asking for truth.
Yeah, absolutely. And here's the thing. The thing about this is why don't we have evidence? Is the question. Why don't we have any evidence yet? And the reason for that is that the media isn't looking for it at all. I mean, what's insane is that there have been movies made about how the Washington Post exposed, the Watergate scandal, and how I believe it's the Boston Globe exposed the child molestation that occurred in the Catholic Church. They exposed some of the biggest stories of the centuries and decades, and yet no one's looking at this at all. No one's even checking to see if any of these claims of voter fraud are true. Something that could have been the biggest scandal in U.S. election history, and the media just couldn't care less about it. If for all they're concerned, Joe Biden is president, and move on. And if you don't move on, you're a conspiracy theorist.
Yeah, and it's really honestly disappointing at this point, because it shouldn't be up to citizen journalists to break this type of stuff. I mean, you would think that of all of the news networks, of all of the newspapers, that people would want to go out and do investigative journalism and be the one who breaks the story of the century. That they go down in history breaking this story, or maybe they prove that there is no fraud at all and everything was perfectly legal, and then they still broke the case on the other side, right? They did investigative journalism. Instead, what we actually have is the New York Times and all these other, publications writing stories about how many people you're allowed to have at Thanksgiving dinner. They're more concerned about if these, different politicians are wearing masks at the event that they went on. That's what they're concerned about right now, and they really should be concerned about investigating free and fair elections.
Yeah. Absolutely. And, talking about, speaking of Thanksgiving and masks, it is, I've watched over the past week when I was at my parents' house and cable was on. Literally every network just was talking about, I heard more hours on Gavin Newsom's dinner in California, and how he was sitting at a table with people and they weren't wearing masks and they were from different families, which I get. It's important.
I feel so bad for you guys in California, by the way. If you're watching this in California, I moved to Florida. Just make sure you vote red. But what we're doing in Florida right now, we are so happy to have Ron DeSantis as our governor, who's basically telling us, look, we're not going to lock down, have as many people at Thanksgiving as you want. But I feel so bad for you guys in your blue states that have to deal with your Gavin Newsoms and Andrew Cuomo, who's going to win an Emmy, by the way. Let me just pause everything right now, that they're going to give Governor Andrew Cuomo an Emmy, a TV Emmy, for his handling of COVID. What? We are living in backwards world this year, that he is going to win. Maybe he should get it for acting, because he killed all of these people, and he goes on every day and pretends like he's done a great job. It's crazy.
We're really living in nepotism world where his brother works for CNN and they get a vote in the Emmys. So, that's how that happens. But, regardless, the Gavin Newsom story, it is interesting. It should take, and it is important because it shows the hypocrisy of politicians, and it's especially a politician who has been as staunch on COVID restrictions, such as Governor Gavin Newsom.
Yeah, it's just pure socialist politics.
It is, but it shouldn't be. You're right. Honestly, I do want to hinge on that for a moment, because it's a great point. It is pure socialist politics, because in a socialist, country, what the politicians do is they say everyone's equal. We're all equal. Meanwhile, they thrive at the top, and are looking down from everybody in their, in their white castles.
In Hawaii.
That's
where they were in Hawaii, having dinner. But anyway,
yeah.
The point is that, that's where the focus has been. It really should be investigative journalism into the biggest story in the world. Unfortunately, it is not. And really, as we go into Thanksgiving in just a few days, I do want to take some time to say, don't listen to your governor. Don't listen to your mayors. Don't listen to your city councils, whoever's telling you not to go to Thanksgiving, because you should spend time with your family. If you let one of the politicians in this country...
Coming from you?
Yeah. Okay. Well, if you want to spend time with your family, you should spend time with your family, because you should not allow a politician to dictate whether or not you go eat turkey with your grandma. Okay? Make that decision yourself. That is not up for anybody else to make for you. And I cannot believe we live in a world where maybe 50% of this country thinks it's okay for politicians to tell you whether or not you can or cannot visit your family, and how many people you can have in your home. How many people you can have in your home should never be a question in America. Ever. And yet here we are, and we have lost sight of it so far. We are so far down this rabbit hole, and like, we are so brainwashed, and just like everyone's busy with their new PS5s and their Xboxes that just came out, that like they just don't even care. They're just staring at a screen or something.
Do you think they released the PS5 just to distract from the new COVID lockdowns that are coming?
I think they did it for Black Friday, but I'll give you it.
But I'm not usually the conspiracy theory person, but that one just came to me. You're bringing me around. But in all seriousness, if you want to throw a Thanksgiving Day rager, throw it. But but if your grandma says, "Hey, honey, can you not come? I'm worried about getting sick." Don't come. Don't go. Don't do anything. You listen to your family. Listen to yourself. And, most importantly, what I want to say is that with our nation more divided than ever, don't let politics divide your family. This is, that should be the one thing that should be the one group of people that no matter what, no matter how different your opinions are, you should be able to, at the end of the day, say, I love you. And, your opinion is yours, my opinion is mine, and we should be able to sit together and break bread at dinner.
But if your kid is some crazy socialist who went to like liberal arts school or something like that, you should take the time over Thanksgiving to let them know, like, hey, you're probably trying to ruin the country. Do your best, do it politely. And if you can, send them over to the Young Republicans Club in their area. Because let me tell you that if you send them over our way, I have people, older people all the time, ask us, they're like, can you talk to our kids? Can you talk to my grandkids? Can you just let them know, there's people out there that think normally that are maybe millennial age. They're out there, and they usually join Young Republican clubs in your area.
Can you tell which one of us has had normal Thanksgiving dinners?
Speaking of which, we did win the best Young Republican Club in the entire country in Tampa Bay down here. So I wanted to give a quick shout out to the Young Republicans National Federation, who had us up in Jackson Hole, Wyoming. And we are just going to close out this by saying that if you are in the Tampa Bay area, come join the best Young Republicans Club in the entire country. And we will be back with you next week, and hopefully your family doesn't fall apart over Thanksgiving. And if this episode did make you moderately outraged, please subscribe. We're having a lot of fun this episode.
Yeah.
We really appreciate BizPac Review and Conservative News Today for having us on their platform.
Leave a comment if you do have any evidence that you would like to share, anything that you've heard that you think that we should know about. Share it in the comments, because we obviously can't get to every piece of journalism or lack thereof, in the country. So. And
Sidney Powell, you have 2 weeks.
Yeah, 2 weeks. We are hoping that you come out with something. We really are. And we're giving you those 2 weeks. So thank you so much. Have a great night.